think it's time that we get rolling to the mountains and the ocean. There's a place.
Well, to start, how about you guys tell us your whole name and how old you are?
Well, my name's Jerry Rice.
Oh, what's your middle name?
I thought I had a middle name, but it got cheated out of it. My birth certificate finally came out, and my name is Jerry Rice. I used to think it was Jerry Tom Rice, but it was just Jerry Rice on my birth certificate.
I'm Joyce Rice, Joyce Ann Rice. I was Joyce Ritchie growing up. I was born June 13, 1937. Lived on a farm most of my life until I got married.
So how old are you now?
I'm 74.
And you
I'm 77. No, 76. Yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. I've been ill. I'm age pretty fast. Now Joyce, she's raised on a farm, could never back a trailer. Never back a trailer.
So where were you born and raised?
I was born 8.5 miles southwest of Lone Wolf at Coon-Kazazi community. There was 9 children in our family, and no doctor was ever there when any of them were born.
Huh.
They came the next day, but never was there when any of us were born. I was the last of 9.
I was born in a community called Cambridge, north of Lone Wolf. There was nothing there but a store and an elevator.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents just lived in a 3-4 room house. We moved to another place, and I had one sister. She's 5 years younger than me. And I lived there all my life until I got married.
Mm-hmm.
She says she don't like hot weather, but her mother said it was 107 when she was born, and she hung sheets over the windows so the wind would blow through them to cool off the rooms. But I guess she just got to not liking it at that time, and she stayed that way all these years. Now she can't break a sweat. But I was born on an Indian lease right at the foot of Teepee Mountain, a half mile from Teepee Mountain. Teepee Creek was right there. I could go fishing. In 10 minutes I could be catching grasshoppers and fishing pole and a line, and be catching mudcat and perch in 10 minutes anytime. We had 100 pecan trees on that place, native pecan trees. I always had a pocket full of pecans when they got on the school bus. I was extremely popular.
Well, I lived most of my life 5 miles north of Lone Wolf, and since I just had one sister, I didn't have a lot of going on at that time, and mostly, we visited with neighbors. Mom and Dad had best friends, and that was Woodrow and Robert Campbell, and spent time with their family a lot. And mostly I rode bicycle up and down the hills, and I had a dog, a collie. His name was Jack, and he was the same age I was, and he was a good dog, and he died when he was about 14. So that was one of the things, that I did. Living on the farm there by ourselves, and I had no close neighbors with girls around, so that's just pretty much what we did.
My dad was kind of a horse trader. We always had horses. He traded them off. We never knew what was going to be in the lot when we got off the bus from school. But I got a little Indian pony named Ribbon from my aunt, and they had races at Hobart every county fair every year, and I'd win that race 3 times, 3 days in a row, and I'd get a check for $12, $4 a race, and It nearly ranked me, but I got over the horse racing deal, but it took a while.
No, he didn't get over the horse racing deal. Not for a long time.
We moved from the Indian lease to a sand farm up 5 miles south of West Lone Wolf for a while, and then we moved into Lone Wolf when I was about 12 years old.
I started fishing with my grandparents mostly when I lived with them. This is my dad's parents. They lived on a farm further north, and I stayed with them a lot. We went to farm ponds and fished. We'd catch grasshoppers, and my grandpa couldn't drive. My grandma did, but she had arthritis really bad. It's a wonder she never did have a wreck and kill him until she rose until she possibly couldn't anymore. And we did that, and I stayed with my aunt and uncle Dwayne in South Stockton some. And when Mom and Dad was gone on harvest, they did harvest, go north. Dad'd go south, but Mom would go north. They had a cook shack and everything. Wheat harvest. I stayed with my aunt and uncle some, and they'd let me help milk cows. Didn't like that much, but I did.
That's fun.
That's the way I kind of got in the family. Her dad went on the harvest. He hired me when I was about 13 to plow, and then when I was about 16, he let me go on the harvest with him. And I got to eating home cooking, and she was real ugly the first time I ever went out there. She's freckle-faced, red-headed. Then I come back a couple of years, didn't recognize her. And I got the dust washed out of my eyes, so I started kind of noticing her. They'd stand on the front porch when the meal was done, and they'd wave a white dish rag. That meant don't go around again, you can come in and eat. And I was always watching for that flag, because if you ever went past the flag, you had to go plumb around to get back to eat. Her mother cooked fried chicken one day and chicken fried steak the next. All the iced tea you could drink.
Yeah, that was quite an experience going on the harvest in the cook shack. The way we had an old bus, school bus, and we had a table fixed at night that they ate at when they ate, and then they let it down, and we slept on that old table at night. And that was quite an experience doing that. We went on harvest with my uncle and aunt, 2 uncles and aunts sometimes. And but anyway, they went to Kansas and Colorado mainly, and several things. But just, there's a lot of stuff you can remember at that time. But like I said, Jerry and I really never did go together until it was probably 9th grade. I think we went to a football banquet together.
We did. We went to football banquet, and then I went out next Saturday night to pick her up, and it rained. I ran off in the ditch. I wasn't used to driving muddy roads. Got in the ditch, had to stay all night with them. Next morning, they said they was going to cook breakfast, and I said, oh, I never eat breakfast. So I was like a dummy. I sat there and watched them eat bacon and eggs, biscuits. I'm me lying, saying I didn't eat breakfast. Well, I did eat breakfast, but I was starving to death. Scared, too. But anyway, her dad took the tractor and went up and pulled me out of the ditch.
He never could drive.
I never could drive in mud. I wasn't used to it. Still can't. It hadn't rained since.
He's always getting stuck in the mud. But anyway, we went together.
Went together through high school. Her senior year,
We got married.
junior year, she got nominated for football queen. I had about $40 in the bank. You had to raise so much money to be a candidate, so I wrote a check for whatever I had in the bank to get her nominated. And then I didn't even get to kiss her. Another boy got to kiss her. But I kissed her as soon as the game was over. But anyway, she is a football queen.
Yeah, it was quite different than it is nowadays. So we raised money for the class for the football queen. And,
There was about 24 in her senior class.
yeah. We also, in our senior class, we had Sunday dinners charged for them so we could go on what they call a senior trip. And we went to New Orleans on that trip, and it didn't cost us any money because we'd raised a lot of money.
It took about 5 cars.
Yeah, different parents went along that took cars, and that was an experience. But we were already married at that
We
time.
got married when we was seniors and lived with her folks. And I drove a school bus, $60 a month. I had plenty of money. And then we got out of high school. I took a job as a retail milk delivery man in Dumas, Texas, Borger, Texas. We lasted a month out there.
Well, I was expecting Jana, and never had been away from home, so I wasn't too interested in being away. And anyway, he got that job, and then right away they wanted us to. We had this place to live, and they wanted us to move to Amarillo.
So we got out of that and came home. I went to work at a meat market at Hobart, Tolma Grocery. We lived a block and a half from the meat market, and I could just walk back and forth to work. And we worked there 6 months till we raised $150, enough to pay for Jana's hospital and doctor bill. I was making $45 a week. And I'd go home and Joyce would have me a lunch made. That old red-headed gal was sitting there 9 miles from home. And when I saved up that $150, we was paying about $30 rent. And saved up $150, and I told this owner was a Syrian. And I said, Jim, I'm quitting next week. He said, I'll give you $5, Butch, I'll give you $5. I said, I don't want $5, I want out. He's an alcoholic butcher, and he's drunk, and ain't dangerous. And I never was handy with a knife.
Yeah, that's what he was doing. He was trying to be a butcher. Good grief, that was a terrible thing.
One time a woman come in there when he was on break of an evening, and she wanted some charcoal steak meat. I grabbed a side of beef. When I got through cutting, she had some stew meat. So she had squares. I was scared to death of them. Saw, and that butcher I was jumpy. I got to where I couldn't eat anything but half and half, and boiled ham. That's all I'd eat, and crackers. But anyway, we got out of that and went up to Sentinel and got Jana. She's a pretty little old thing, and she had a little problem with her neck, wry neck or something. We had to bring her to Oklahoma City to get clipped where she could.
They had injured her neck, and it was drawing down like this. When she was 3 months old, we came up here and had surgery on her neck, and we stayed with my aunt and uncle, Don Leora Russmuscle.
We knocked around on a lot of odd jobs, and finally bought an old Texaco filling station. Ran it 2 years and 17 days in about 6 hours. I sold it to the village idiot, and I walked out of there. I owed $1,800 and no job. It was the second happiest day of my life.
Yeah, but Clinton was born in that time too.
Clinton was born while we had the station.
Yeah, we had the station in Longworth.
Then I bought a combine. With her dad's help, I bought a combine and I got another combine. We did that for 6 years. I worked about 2 months a year and hunted and fished 10. I took my retirement right off the top. I was 23 or 4 years old, had a family and plenty of money and no job, just living it up, fishing and hunting.
Yeah.
But we finally got, she decided I ought to go to work for a living, so I went to work for Mahaney Brothers Auto Parts at Clinton, Oklahoma. Joyce was going to try to work up there, going to try to be a X-ray technician with 3 children, but
Kathy was born before that.
Yeah.
Jan was born in 1959, Glenda in 1957, and Kathy in 1959. And we had moved, what,
nothing.
is that right?
When was Jana born?
55, 57, 59.
Yeah. And then when we moved to Clinton, Clinton was going to first grade, I guess. Yeah, first grade. Yeah, and I went, that's when we met Glenn and Nell Smith. And Nell was the x-ray tech there at the hospital in Clinton. And they had at that time, you didn't have to go to college to be an x-ray tech. You could just do on-the-job training. And so I had went up there and was learning going to learn there because I didn't stay there long enough to learn much of anything. We moved.
We was only there 18 months, and we got a job for Northrop King Seed Company and moved to Wichita, Kansas. And I had a 17 county district there in south central Kansas that I worked through dealers, and we lived there about 2-3 years, and then moved to Kingman, Kansas, 40 miles west we were there from 64 to 69, and I had a chance to transfer back from Kingman to here, and we moved to Oklahoma. But in the meantime, we won several trips. We went to Hawaii a couple of times, and went to Hong Kong and Mexico City and Acapulco, and went to Canada 3 times. Won some trips. We couldn't rub 2 quarters, but we won a lot of trips, and we did get to travel quite a bit. But
Yeah, when we lived in Wichita, that was a place where the 10-cent hamburgers was on Thursday at Griff's. And the kids, they look forward to that every week because we'd go there and get a big sack of hamburgers, and they loved that. And we would just walk, it would just buy a block over there, and that was always a big thing for them. And so then we moved back.
yeah, we
moved back.
all the kids were in school there at Kingman, and Clinton had some football playing buddies, old Tommy Teagarden, and he played baseball on the American Legion or the beginners, Pee-wees.
He didn't really play. He just kind of wandered around the outfit.
Kathy, she won a bicycle when we lived at Kingman. She's awful proud of that. We went to the park one day there at Kingman, and Kathy outrun Clinton in a race, and it embarrassed him, something fierce. But she was a sprinter. She wasn't a long race, but she's a sprinter. But we got them started good there at Kingman. We had a little dog named Snoopy. He was kind of a woman chaser. About every month or so, he'd take off after a pack of dogs. One time we thought we'd lost him for sure, because normally he'd come back with his ears eat up and chewed up. But he don't come back, so we got to thinking maybe he's down to dog pound. We went down there on Sunday at the veterinary, who was a dog pound, and he heard our voice way out front. We couldn't get in, it's all locked up, but we could hear him hitting that gate back there in the back, barking when he heard our voice. But we went next day to get him, and man, was he glad. He swore he'd never run again, but he did. He did. He couldn't trust him.
When we moved to Mustang, we come down here and looked and around, and there wasn't no place available, even Yukon, no place. At that time, they weren't building too many houses or anything there, and we We wanted to rent, but there was nothing for rent, and so we ended up buying a house over in Mustang,
What year was that when you moved here?
It's 69.
1969. And Jen was a freshman. Clinton went in 6th grade, and Kathy was in the 4th, I guess, at that time. When we moved here, in Mustang proper, not in this house.
We moved down 713 Elder over in the Mustang Heights.
Not far from school at that time.
First night I was out of town on my job, Joyce and the family was here. They had a tornado. Blew the house away on the west side of us, 50 feet. Missed our house, blew the roof away 2 doors down to the east. Joyce and the kids was in the school cellar, the storm cellar. I was in Hot Springs, or Fort Smith, Arkansas. But they had a very close call, and they do call this Tornado Alley for a reason, I guess. But they had a close call right away, but they made it all right. And we lived there about 18 months, and we got a chance to buy this place. It was 5 acres, which is what I wanted. But
Because he was still liking horses.
I had horses at that time, and still trying to make that $12 back. But we got this
He
place.
never did.
I borrowed $1,000 off my mother, and sold our house over there for $1,000 equity. Made the down payment on this and borrowed the balance. Moved out here in '72, and we've been here ever since. The kids they was all raised here, and had a lot of good times here. We went on vacation every year. Sometimes when we lived at Clinton, we went in a 61 Chevrolet car. No tent, no nothing, just go. Had about $65. And the kids slept in the car. We slept in a cot with a tarp over us on the outside. Joyce told Clinton we was camped up there on
Tin Cup.
a tin cup right outside of Gunnison. Joyce told Clinton, said, "Do not get out of the car at night. There's bears all around." Well, about 2 o'clock that morning, we heard something picking on this tent, on the tarp. We thought it was a bear. It was Clinton. He said, "Mom, I have to potty." She said, "Get in back in that car." But she let him potty first. I think maybe on the way back in there he potty. But anyway, she'd try to cook every morning on the stove, pancakes and smoke in her eyes and fire in an old skillet.
No stove is a fire, built up fire.
Little old kids hanging around there wanting something to eat, and her down there in that smoke, cooking and having fun, boy.
It was fun.
She's cooking flapjacks. Sometimes she'd get one served to you. It's already getting cold. Just throw it right out of the fire.
It was cold up there.
Clinton tried to catch a trout so bad, and he went for years before he ever got onto it. But finally, he was up there with her dad, and he finally learned how to catch a trout. But we always went. We never had much money, but we'd go to Colorado. If she could ever find anybody to make her a living in Colorado, she'd quit making and moved up there. She couldn't ever find anyone. We've always tried to go once a year, and wound up going to Fun Valley with it. Kids went and had a lot of fun. And Joyce and I went after they left and had a lot of fun. After we got out of the seed business, my brother got us to go in the asphalt business with him at Elk City. And we did in 1981, and we sold that business in 1998. And this is over 2011, and we've been retired for 14 years, and I'm so pauper I haven't worked and I haven't been asked. But
In between times, I had worked at several types of jobs, mostly just doing office work for builders here in Mustang. When we was in Kingman, Kansas, I did a substitute room worker for a guy from church, and that was quite an ordeal because, man, they didn't have no paved roads or gravel roads or anything else up there in Kingman, Kansas, and on them muddy roads sometimes it was pretty treacherous to try to drive on. But anyway, I worked for a couple of builders here in Mustang, and just did odd office work. And then when we got the company, I did the books most of the time for a long time, and did a lot of the work for our asphalt company, and kept up with the taxes and first one thing and another. And
I kept her out of trouble on the books.
yeah, sure he did.
We went to a little church out here at Mustang in Lake Homa, and now, 40 years later, there's only one couple there that's been there longer than we have, Lemon's family. We've been there longer than anyone else, but I was baptized out there in 1984, and it's been a good place for us. We raised a good family here, and fortunate enough that Jana raised her family a block and a half north, and Clinton raised his just to the east across the creek, and their kids always played on the creek. And
That's another thing we've always enjoyed our grandkids. We had 9 grandkids. We always on spring break and fall break, we always took them to the lake, and they'd take their bicycles, and we'd had one camper, and we just had kids everywhere when we first started. And they'd fish, and they would play and ride their bicycles, and had lots of fun and a lot of memories with our grandkids. And later on we bought a place down there, and so they had the opportunity to go down there whenever they wanted after they got to be teenagers. And I think they enjoyed that. We always enjoyed our grandkids being with them, and made a lot of memories, and I hope it made memories for them too.
at one time, I got up to, I would haul 9 bicycles to the lake on spring break. And Joyce would take the kids in a van. I'd take the camper and then a trailer loaded with bicycles, and we'd meet there. At night, they'd be sleeping all over the floor in the old camper, and she'd cook some way for them, and they made fun of her when she'd burn up the tacos and stuff. But she'd cook, and they never did turn any of it down. And Clint, he got in the soccer game, and he learned how to make the slide tackle, and he tried to kill poor old Tanner. And I heard Tanner tell him one day, he said, "I'm not going to play any more football if Clint's not on my side. I'm sick of this." But we had a lot of fun with all of them. Laura finally got 5 years old, and she got to go. You had to be 5 to qualify for those trips, but it's kind of sad when she didn't get to go, but she made it. We fished a lot, and Laura always had a little Snoopy pole. She didn't know what she was doing, but some way or another those little perch would jump on that pole. And poor old Tanner, he'd just stand there and watch her, just waiting for her to lay it down, and then he'd get it. And finally she'd run off and he'd get the pole. But Alex and Matt and Charlie all kind of wound up to be fishermen, but I don't think Clinton and Kev ever wanted to fish too much, but everybody in our family got interested in sports, and that kind of messed up our camp because they always were obligated to go practice or have games. But
Yeah, Charlie played football.
Charlie played football, but Katie, she stayed with us probably as long as anybody because she was 17 or 18. She still wanted to go on spring break and fall break, bless her heart. And but Jennifer, she was a golf cart queen. She wrecked probably 7 or 8 golf carts. It wasn't anything to see her sitting on the side or upside down around here, because she never knew where to slow down or how to slow down. But she went through a lot of golf carts. Clint, he was going to teach Laura to drive the golf cart. Well, she never had driven. He'd been everywhere. He turned the golf cart over to her. He was sitting there beside her. She run right into the peach tree out here. Clint was so embarrassed. He looked at her like, "What is the matter with you, girl?" She run right into the tree. She didn't know how to drive.
You're rambling.
Hey, what?
I said, you're rambling.
No, I'm not. I'm talking to that machine. Well, you ramble.
Well, yeah, there, you know, we.
And we do that for Cooper, and he gets excited, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a great grandchild now named Cooper Kane Guthrie. He's 18 months old. And we keep him a couple of days, and we enjoy him very much. But anyway, there's all the grandkids are special, and they all have done all kinds of different things. Charlie and Matthew, they've turned over a few boats together when they go fishing, and they dump everything out of the boat. And first one thing and another. Katie, the most embarrassing thing Katie got into is we was down at the lake one day, and the 2 girls, there was the 3 girls. It was Katie and Jenny and Laura. And I said, "Now, you girls, the old golf cart's not running too good, so do not get very far away." Well, guess what? They went way off over there somewhere, and then had to walk back, and Jerry and Tanner had to go get the golf cart because it was broke down. Had to pull it all the way back. Anyway, they didn't mind very well sometimes.
Katie was really embarrassed because we'd always kind of had her on a pedestal that she'd mind and do what you told her. But she had to come in and tell her grandma that the golf cart was over there a mile or 2 away in a pasture. But we hunted a lot, deer hunted, fish. I got to spend a lot of time with my grandchildren, especially my grandsons. I wouldn't trade for it. It went by pretty fast, but we had a lot of enjoyment and a lot of good times. I hope they're not all over, but as long as we can stay on this side of the grass, we'll be all right.
Yeah, we've had a good life, and we can't complain about anything.
But the Lord's been a part of our life, and Christ, we know that Christ has been, He initiated all the love that we have, and we're just so thankful that we have so much interest in Christ and our family, and it's a wonderful thing to look back and to know that your children and grandchildren have a future because of Christ, and we're very thankful for this.
Well, I have a couple questions here that I just want to get you guys telling us a little bit about. Okay.
Because
Oh no, you guys did great. You really did.
We hadn't even got a
I
question.
didn't even have to ask a question. You guys just, whew,
yeah.
you guys did good. So we heard how Jerry, what you thought of, Joyce when you saw her for the first time. But what did you think of him when you saw him sweating out there working? What did you think of him when you saw him?
He was just another guy. He's just another guy. At that time, in your life when you're that young, you want a boyfriend, naturally, and that's kind of the way you just kind of look at a, maybe, I really didn't think about a boyfriend really, actually, but, girls, after a while, I was always cheerleader, and football team, and we always went on bus trips and stuff, you know, with football team, and so you just, I don't know, we just kind of generated toward each other. And of course, I knew him because he came out the house all the time, and you know, mom always cooked for all the hired hands, and so you know he was there. And once we got in high school, and like I said, football, you know, and being a cheerleader and running that way, well, he was playing football, so it's just.
I started combing my hair.
Yeah. You know, you just once at that age, you just start looking for a boyfriend, you know, or whatever.
So it wasn't love at first sight then?
No,
it's just something
really.
that kind of
Not
grew?
really. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
growing up in a small place, you know, in a farm community, it's a lot different than what most of the kids grow up nowadays, and people start going together sooner, generally, and
Everybody was married time they was 20, 21 years old.
yeah, you just, you know, people got married young, and that's just, you know, that's just kind of the way it was. And
So what attracted you guys to each other? What was it that you guys
Well,
kind of...
she went like this back then.
like I said, you always had.
She kind of looked like same thing attracted you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you know, like I said, you know, girls start looking for a boyfriend. That's just what they look for at that age, you know.
So when did you guys know that you wanted to marry each other?
We was young, probably about 16, 17. I got married when I was 17, so
Well, how did he propose? Did he propose?
I think he threw some rings over in my lap.
There's a long story, but I won't go into
Oh, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
We got married pretty sudden. Like we kind of got married on a rebound deal. We kind of got mad at each other for something, and we kind of made up with each other for something. And first thing you know, we were standing in front of a Baptist preacher at Lone Wolf. And there was my sister, her husband, and her little daughter was there.
And my mom.
Her mom and dad, and Delano and Marilyn Campbell, and Gene Wolford was the preacher. And that was about it.
That was all.
And that was in 1954. We went to Davis, Oklahoma. My dad had a 652 Chevy car. And we went to Davis, Oklahoma, and Turner Falls. And
Is that what you did for your honeymoon?
Yeah.
2 nights, $7 a night. I went with $65 and come back with 40. So,
We went out to Turner Falls and just married off of the vehicle.
yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, and we came back and, what was you? Oh, you drove over here with my folks. And my mom, she really wasn't much ready for us to get married, but my dad, he thought it was just all right to go ahead and get married. And of course, his mom, she said she wasn't coming to the wedding. She'd never been to any of her kids' wedding, and she wasn't going to that one, so she didn't go.
Wow. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. She never was happy with her kids getting married, I don't think, but anyway.
Yeah. We never had a telephone as long as I was home in our house. We just didn't need one. We had a neighbor that if it was an urgent message from somewhere, she'd come across the street and get my mother.
Yeah, well, we had one, but it was a community line with other people on it, you know.
Everybody on that road.
We had a nosy neighbor. He was a few years older than me. But he would always listen in no matter what. He didn't like it at all.
Is there any advice you would want to give to future generations about marriage? What have you learned over the years? If there's a piece of advice that you could pass on, what would it be?
Well, you don't want to ever draw a line in the sand. What's important to you today, you might not even remember what it was next week. Just don't make any rash decisions, and keep Christ in your life and try to do what you'd think should be done, and you'll know what to do. But just be. It's not a 50-50 deal. You have to be very considerate sometimes.
It's very much 100% sometime for one, and the other one just has to give that 100%, and it's just the way it is. And I just advise the younger ones that are not married to always look for a Christian person if that's the kind of life they want to live. You just really should try to marry the same type of person that way you grew up. Makes it a lot easier than to marry somebody that's a completely different lifestyle, used to a completely different lifestyle. It makes it very hard. So you really need to marry the same type of family situation that you grew up in.
If you make a rash decision or you make a poor choice, sometimes it's a lifetime trying to live it down.
A poor choice is cause you all kinds of misery in you. So you really need to think about what you're doing and don't jump in something like without thinking.
Divorce is just it's probably worse than death because it never really, it lingers, and children are affected, and just be very careful when you make choices because it's hard sometimes to live them down, a bad one.
Is there any advice you would want to give about raising children?
Raise them in the Lord. Children, it's really hard for a lot of people to discipline children, but discipline is also a mainstay. You cannot let your child be your friend. You have to be a parent. And you just can't turn them loose and let them go because they don't have the judgment to do the thing, even a small child.
I give Joyce the credit for our children turning out like they did. I traveled and I wasn't home all the time, but I wasn't the one that was really what's the word?
Disciplinarian?
Disciplinarian. You said that a while ago, but Joyce was, and our kids, they just didn't. I mean, it's like Tanner said when he heard about this kid that didn't do his homework, and the teacher told his mom. Tanner said, "I would just hate to think what would happen at our house if I had a teacher tell my mom I didn't turn in my homework." He was ready to get his eyes scratched out.
My kids, they still give, adult kids now still give me that. Oh, all you had to do was look at mom and she'd give you that evil eye, you better be good. But, expected a lot, and I think you have to expect a lot out of kids. You can't, if you just spoil them rotten and expect nothing out of them, that's the way they're going to be. And even from tiny kids, from very small, you have to expect a lot out of them. And that may seem harsh, but it's for their own good.
So what was the hardest part about parenting for you guys? What was the hardest part? Most difficult?
I don't think I didn't have a hard part. Our kids really didn't give us a lot of trouble. There was times when we wished they were done a little bit different, but
Well, for me, it was sometimes the associates they choose. You know, there wasn't exactly, wasn't what I wished for them. And sometimes if you, especially after they're teenagers, you can't make choices for them. You can tell them, but a lot of times that doesn't do any good. And but that was kind of the hardest part for me. They're associates that you could have had no way of getting it stopped, and it probably was the hardest part for me is when they get to be teenagers.
Well, what was the most rewarding thing about kids? About your children? If there was. You're sitting there having to think about it.
Our kids never really embarrassed us, to my knowledge. Never really embarrassed me. And of course, I was always happy when they found a mate and started a life. I was always happy for them and hoping that it was the right choice. And to see them go on to school, do good, it's a wonderful feeling. Any success that your child has, whether it's in school, in athletics, or and a job, you just always extremely proud when you have success.
I think the thing with your children is you want them to be happy, and when that doesn't happen with some of them, that's hard on you as well as them, and you just want them to find a way to have happiness and the Lord in their lives, and that's the mainstay. Is not having things or being well off or whatever. You just have them happy and keeping the Lord in their life, and
Our
what
kids
makes happiness.
never had a lot, but they had enough, and they our kids, they were home at night all through high school. It's very seldom that I remember that Clinton, he'd lay right here on this floor when he started college and watch TV on Saturday night. I couldn't figure him out. He would.
Yeah, of course, that wasn't something we allowed either too much of, so, or I didn't. So, kids were.
And our kids were home at night. They were home.
Pretty much.
Is there something in your life that you wish you could go back and change? Like any regrets? Or
Well, there's a lot of things in your life that you'd change if you go back, but that's impossible, so there's really not a lot of need to dwell on it.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's.
Okay. Is there something you wish you could change about your spouse? If he could be taller, or if he could be, less gassy, or what,
I just wish, over the years he hadn't embarrassed me 100 times. You know what I mean?
I used to be bad about embarrassing her, but I've quit all that now. I'm on the straight and narrow. Last 3 years, we haven't had an argument, and I've just walked the chalk.
Yeah, he's.
I did embarrass her for a while, but I apologize. It's too wild, too crazy.
He thinks we're getting too. Now we know each other too well, and so there's no excitement anymore. We don't even argue. Not very often, anyway. Occasionally.
Okay. Is there something that you wouldn't change? What's the one thing that you were so happy to have found in the other?
Well, after you live together 57 years, you start liking what she likes, whether it was something you ever even thought about liking before. And after 57 years, you start liking the same things because you don't have any option.
I went after two people I've lived together so long, It's just Jerry he's very good to me, and he when I was having problems, he's just took over and done everything. So you can't ask for more than that.
What would you want future generations to remember about you?
Well, I'd like for mine to remember that I loved them, and I never tried to run anything about their life. And if I ever said anything, I'd want it to be something that I thought was positive and something that would be a benefit to them. But I just want them to know that I loved them and I enjoyed them.
That's the main thing. We love our family. Have enjoyed having all the relationships we've had with all of them. And looking forward to more great grandkids, They're fun, and so.
Yeah, your children are enjoyable and your grandchildren are wonderful, but the great grandchildren, they're smarter than everything. And they like us. That's what we like. When they get a bicycle, they'll quit you in the first place. But our great grandchild, he thinks I'm Pawpaw.
All right. Is there anything else? Any other advice you might want to leave, or anything else you want to say? Or no.
Life is short, and your eternity's a long time, and we've had a good life, and we've had a lot of enjoyment. We've had things that happen that we would wish hadn't happened, but we haven't had anything affect us that we hadn't been able to get over. Some things are more difficult, but we've actually had a good life, and we've had a lot of things to think about and to know that the Lord's blessed us in many ways.
Yes, God's blessed us more than we deserve. So we're very happy with that. And like you say, you can't help but have bad times in your life. Not really bad, but you think they're bad at the time. But if you just stop and think about them, they're not really. So you just got to keep going and keep going on the right way.
We've always kind of been worried about money, but now probably we got more money than we got time. So what can I say? We're just thankful. We're thankful for guys like you that come to see us, and they act like they love us. That's good enough for us. Anybody that shows an old person anything like love, they'll jump on it quick. 3 things you tell an old man to get his attention: that's food, cheap, and free. That'll see, he'll jump. But we love you guys. We love all the others that are just like you.
We love you guys. Thank you guys for doing this. If you guys can give each other a kiss, just for camera's sake. Go ahead and wave at the camera for me.
Bye. See you later.